He acted like nothing happened, and that's what messed with me the most because after what I saw, after what he didn't deny, there was no version of this that should feel normal. And yet that's exactly what he chose. He didn't say anything about it, and that was the strangest part because after everything that happened the night before, I thought something would be different. Something had to be, but it wasn't, and I felt it immediately. Before he even looked at me, before he even spoke, I could tell this morning was going to be worse, not that morning. Not even a hint, and I think that's what stayed with me the most. Not what happened the night before, but what didn't happen after I woke up before him again. Not because I wanted to, but because my mind wouldn't stop, it kept going back to that moment. The car, the question, the silence. The way he didn't deny it. And I kept thinking something has to happen next. Something has to change. But I didn't know what that looked like. I stayed in bed for a few minutes, just staring, trying to slow everything down, trying to feel normal again. But I couldn't because once you see something, once you hear something like that, there's no going back. And then I heard him getting up, moving around like any other morning. No hesitation, no wait, just routine. And that felt off already because I wasn't in a normal morning anymore. But he was, and I could hear it. The steps, the cabinet, opening, the sound of the coffee machine, and that's when it hit me. He was just continuing like nothing had happened, and I got up slowly, almost like I was trying not to disturb something even though there was nothing there. And when I walked into the kitchen there, he was standing at the counter making coffee. The sound of the machine filling the silence, like nothing was wrong, like this was just another normal morning. And I kept watching every small detail, the way he reached for the cup, the way he didn't rush anything, like he wasn't carrying anything from the night before, like nothing had followed him into this moment. Back turned completely calm like every other morning, same movements, same rhythm, nothing different. And I just stood there for a second, watching, trying to process how that was even possible, how someone could go from that moment to this so easily. And he turned slightly, not fully, just enough to notice me and said, "Morning," like it was nothing, like we didn't have that conversation, like nothing had shifted. And I answered automatically because that's what I was used to. Even if everything inside me felt completely different, and he went back to what he was doing, pouring the coffee, not rushing, not nervous, just normal. And I kept watching every small movement, the way he held the cup, the way he leaned on the counter, the way he checked his phone quickly like it was just part of the routine, and maybe it always was. Maybe I just never saw it the same way, and that thought sat with me because now everything looked different. Not because it changed, but because I changed. And I walked closer, and something about that moment felt slower, like I was stepping into something I already knew the outcome of, but wasn't ready to face yet. And the closer I got, the more details I started noticing, things I would have ignored before, small things, but now they felt louder, the way his phone was placed, face down, closer to him. Not in the middle of the counter like usual, and maybe that meant nothing. Maybe it always looked like that, but now it didn't feel random. It felt intentional, and I caught myself watching everything. Not just looking, but analyzing without even trying to. And that's what changes after a moment like that. You stop being passive, you start seeing patterns, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. And I sat there trying to act normal, trying to exist in that same space without letting everything show. But inside, nothing felt stable because part of me was still trying to understand how someone could separate things like that, how he could take that moment from the night before and just leave it there, like it didn't belong to this version of the day. And I kept thinking, was that easier for him or was it just natural? And that question stayed because if it was natural, then this wasn't new. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was something he already knew how to do. And that realization shifted something in me quietly but permanently. Because now it wasn't about figuring it out anymore, it was about accepting it. And I don't think I was ready for that yet, but I was getting there, and the silence between us was doing something. It wasn't just empty, it was building, not into a confrontation, but into clarity. And that clarity doesn't come all at once. It comes in pieces, in small realizations that stack until you can't ignore them anymore. And I think that was one of those moments where everything starts aligning, even if you don't want it to. Slowly, like I was stepping into something I didn't fully understand yet, and I sat down right across from him, and he didn't react. He didn't look at me differently. He didn't say anything about the night before, and that silence felt louder than anything he could have said, because now I wasn't waiting for words anymore. I was watching actions than anything else, because it wasn't confusion, it wasn't hesitation, it was intentional. He was choosing not to bring it up, and that choice told me more than any explanation could. And I kept thinking, is he going to say something? Is he waiting for me to say it again? Or is this how he deals with it, by acting like it never happened? And that question stayed there while he took a sip of his coffee, completely calm, completely present, like nothing had shifted. And that's when it started, that feeling. Not anger, not yet, something else. Something quieter but heavier, like a disconnect. Like I was sitting across from someone I didn't fully know anymore. And I tried to stay in that moment to understand it. But the more I looked, the clearer it became. This wasn't a reaction. This was normal for him. This was his way of continuing without addressing anything. And I remembered the night before. I remembered the exact moment. The way he paused, not long enough to call it out, but long enough to feel it. And I ignored it, just like I ignored other things before because it was easier at the time. How he didn't deny it, how he stayed calm, how nothing felt chaotic. And now this made sense. This was consistent. This was who he was in moments like this. Controlled, quiet, unmoved. And the realization didn't come with noise, it came with clarity. And clarity is heavier because once you have it, you don't go back. And I stopped waiting for something to happen. I stopped expecting a conversation or an explanation because I understood I wasn't going to get it. Not like this, not from him. And I looked at my own hands resting on the table, trying to ground myself, trying to stay present, but everything felt distant, like I was watching a version of my life from the outside. And he finished his coffee, placed the cup down, and checked his phone again, like it was nothing, like everything was normal. And that small moment, that simple action felt louder than anything else, because it confirmed what I didn't want to accept. He wasn't going to change this moment. He wasn't going to fix it. He wasn't going to address it. He was just going to continue. And I kept thinking about something I didn't notice before, or maybe I noticed and chose not to question, because now everything felt connected in a way it didn't before. And I sat there realizing this wasn't about what happened anymore. It was about what happens after. And that's where everything shifts, because that's where you decide what you're going to do with what you now know. And I wasn't ready to make that decision yet, but I knew I couldn't stay in that version of reality where everything is clear and nothing is said, because that silence does something. It slowly disconnects you from everything. And I could feel that happening right there in that kitchen in that normal morning, with a cup of coffee sitting between us. Like, nothing had changed, even though everything had. And I think because that's when it stopped being about him and started being about me, about what I was going to do with something I couldn't ignore anymore. That was the moment, not the night before, not the question, not his answer, but this quiet morning where reality didn't match what I felt anymore. And that's when I understood this wasn't going to end in a conversation. It was going to end in a decision. And I wasn't there yet, but I was closer than I had ever been. So tell me if you were sitting there in that kitchen watching someone act like nothing happened after everything did. Would you say something again, or would you stay quiet and start seeing things differently?